That was so profound and powerful. So thank you so much, Erasmin. I know we are on a tight schedule, so we want to get right to our next panel, guys. This is like hit them with some gold nuggets, guys, all day long. So, well, up to 4. All right, so now I want to introduce our next panel that I'm excited to help moderate. This panel is the power of representation and community. I am so passionate about this topic because it is one of the initial things that helped to start United Latinas, is wanting to see more women in political spheres, right? Because change happens at the top, right? So we have to make sure that we are not only elevating leadership, but we are also helping. And hopefully some of you are listening, you have pondered potentially running for something. You have a support group, but we want to make sure that we make a change and make some dents in that atmosphere. So I want to introduce our next panelist. We have Eneida Roman from Amplify Latinx. Welcome, Eneida. We have Emiliana Guereca. She is the founder of Women's March LA. Welcome, Emmy. And Dr. Melissa Baralt. She is a professor at Berkeley, and she is also the founder of Be Better Than Me. Welcome, ladies. How are you guys doing?
Excelente, buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes. All right, so let's talk about this topic, about the power of representation and community. And I know, Dr. Melissa, you have ran for a local position. So that has been something that we need to talk about, right? Because it's hard, you need support, we need people, and sometimes that will inhibit somebody from running because they feel that it's scary, it's a scary environment. So can you start us off with like a synopsis of running?
Absolutely. Absolutely. First of all, Sandra, thank you for having this wonderful panel. You're amazing. This is wonderful. I think that the change starts by really shifting the way we look at each other and really standing on each other's backs and holding each other's hands up as we all rise through this movement we call life. I just want to give a shout out to all of my friends, everybody from the Lupe. I see Valeria Lowe on the line, Maria Andrade, all my friends, Crystal Fazinga, Commissioner Dania Martinez. Hello to everybody. And I just want to share the experience about running. It was a thought that came just based on the needs of the city I represent. I represent the city of Patterson, which, as many of you know, has many needs, including educational ones. And fortunately, we have women that are on the ground and are groundbreaking people that are willing to do the work and really get motivated about, what is going on with the community. And we really care about the community. And so being that I was already doing educational things so close to Patterson, it was only a best fit for me to run first for the Board of Education. And it was a big thing because, I'm a scientist by training. All of you that know me, I have a PhD in molecular pathology. And everyone's like, hold on, I got to take that in with a deep breath. Okay. And everybody, when I ran for office, was like, what is a professor of molecular biology doing running for office? And I said, well, why not? When you're learning in your doctoral studies and you're learning professional studies, we as women learn to navigate every single aspect of community. And that includes what we learn and how we learn to survive and how we learn to thrive. And so the first time I ran, I remember my slogan was the catalyst for change as a biologist, and people in Patterson was like, who's this little person? Because I'm 5 feet tall, really, but I'm only 5 feet tall, but I'm really, really taller than that if you meet me in person. So I ran the first time and it was great and I lost, and it was a blessing because it just exposed me to so many other people and it helped me to build bridges and build connections for other people, some of the very people on the call who I love very dearly. And then I ran again in 2022 because one time wasn't enough, right? So then we ran twice and, both times it was just great exposure. It was just looking at the problem from another lens. And I think a lot of times we just go through life, work, school, whatever it is, right? And we really don't look at the things around us, right? And we really don't look at how everyone, even though you're Black, Latino, Arabic, Polish, Mexican, it doesn't matter. We're all human and we all have the same exact needs. So being able to step in and help people and just lend a helping hand wherever you can in the community is such an essential part. And running is a part of that because your voice matters. Yes, she can.
This is how I feel every time I hear you speak. You are so awesome. Awesome. So I want to throw it over to Emmy. So what does it mean? You've done so much work and you've galvanized over 300,000 women together together to be like-minded. So what does it mean to have a voice for social justice? Tell us a little bit about what you've done, and then just what does it mean to have a voice?
Well, part of it, to have a voice, is to have representation. The visibility is the main key. And I'm going to say that we actually galvanized close to 1 million folks after a scientist talked to us about, no, within this space, you had more than 1 million folks out there. But truly, truly, it is the voice. But it's also talking about making sure that you're visible. And on our own internal communication is that we're also fighting barriers within ourselves, right? We are also looking at the cultural expectations. When I'm telling my mom that I'm going to organize a women's march, she's like, why? ¿Por qué, mija? Is your husband letting you? So it's really about visibility, but not just about social justice. Social justice also has to involve politics. And the other piece to it is that there is no feminism. I mean, I'm the founder of a Women's March Foundation, but there is no feminism without talking about racial justice, right? Because the feminism of the 1900s missed Latinas, missed Black women. And so it is really working through all of those barriers to be visible, to have a voice, to have representation across all sectors of the country. I mean, if you walk into a room and you are the only Latina in the room, it's our job to bring in more Latinas, but it's also our job to support Latinas. If someone sends me an email and says, I'm a Latina, I'm starting a business, I'm like, ching, here. Yes, I'm a Latina, I'm running for office, I may not win. Ching, here. Donate, support, listen to your stories, but more than anything, share your stories. We may think we don't have a story. We all have a story. And our story is important for that next generation of Latinas to know that it's possible, to know that we can do it. I came to this country at 10 years old, not knowing the language. My parents were factory workers, and it's doable. Because it's been done, and it's up to all of us to make sure that we're visible, but that we're also holding folks accountable to make sure that we are at the forefront and demanding more of folks.
I love that. Eneida, I would love to hear your thoughts. First of all, tell us a little bit about the work you do in Amplify X, and then really what are some of the pressing like social issues that we have in front of us?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. First of all, thank you for having me. It's delightful to see this phenomenal panel of women. And everything that I've heard so far echoes with my soul, right? Because everything is so true. It rings true to our reality day and night. And well, like you said, my name is Eneida. I am an attorney by trade. I practiced law for 20 years, and in that journey of growth, I actually co-founded the Latina Circle in Boston, and that led to us working on growing what is known as Amplify Latinx today, because the Latina Circle started only focused on women and Latinas, of course, and executive leadership, making sure that our women got a seat at the table across sectors, and that we brought with us the next generation. So we in our inaugural invitation, we said, you're a woman on the go, bring a woman on the rise, right? Because it's real, that mentorship and championing component is incredibly crucial to the success of our entire community. And as we continued hearing about all these issues, we realized, there's so much more that we can do, right? I mean, we have to close all these opportunity gaps. And that is what Amplify is about, right? Amplify not only also included men and everyone who identifies as Latino or Latinx and wants to make a difference, including allies, right? Because one thing is us talking to amongst ourselves, and another thing is us having champions outside of our community who get it, who understand that representation matters, that we have to have a seat at the table, and that it's the right thing to do, and that it's only beneficial for the economy at large, right? Because Latino progress is American progress. And so what we do is that we look at all the opportunity gaps, right? And I call it the Trinity model, because we look at economic prosperity, opportunity gap, leadership representation, opportunity gap, and policy solutions that help close those opportunity gaps. So we're trying to bridge the gaps so that we can get more people in political office, get more people in executive office, get more people in that pipeline towards growth, get more small businesses to grow and to expand and to scale and to get procurement opportunities. And we do that by convening, we do that with programming. And so, of course, we have a website, amplifylatinx.com, if you want to learn more, but I'm going to stop there because I know, we want to continue the conversation around other things, but everything, it simply rings true, because with one without the other makes no sense, right? So we need to make sure that it's like a virtuous cycle, if you will, of making sure that we're looking at leaders, that we're holding leaders accountable, that we're including leaders that matter at the table, that we are making sure that we're, affecting progress for our small business community and individuals, so that they can accelerate the wealth of their families and create multi-generational positive impact for their families and their children. And then, of course, looking at solutions and removal of barriers that keep the communities, the underserved communities, down because of those barriers that can be removed with proper advocacy and education.
Wow. That's amazing. Like, I mean, I think you're like, my brain is going with all these different ideas of like, okay, what these different things that we can do. So I would like to throw out the question, like, what can we do? Like, what's missing for us? And I don't, Dr. Moon said it's somebody that's running, like, what would you say is missing from our, she's ready before I even finish asking.
We're ready. We're ready. She ready. So I just want to say that a lot of times we live in communities where we don't even know who our local council person is. We don't know who our county commissioners are. We don't know who our senators are. We really don't know who the lawmakers and the legislatures are, who is the legislative body that is governing us. And so if we don't know that, then it's really difficult to help people. But knowing that and providing access to that, and I'd like to challenge a thought, I look at those leaders, but I also look at the people that are not there yet. I look at the future. I look at, my students that have an idea. I look at entrepreneurs, people like on the call, like, Miss Crystal, that is like building other communities with younger kids who are not as active, but they know they have a voice, but they're not sure what that voice is. And I look at shaping that, because if we look at really the groundwork, and there's so many stars and so many diamonds in the community and people that are not even being tapped into. And so, like, we need to stop this monotony of the same people over and over. That's how we make a change, because there's leaders amongst us, some of our kids, and I know the women in this call can identify. Some of your daughters are already leaders. Some of your sons are already leaders, and they're already effectuating change where they are. I think that we need to really look at the mirror of who we were and who once, we looked up to, and know that we didn't all start, with everything. I come from a family where I was born in New York City, but my father, I always talk about his journey. He was an immigrant who came to this country with nothing but $20 in his pocket. And from there, he learned the English language and moved up to become an accountant and provide us with what some would say is a golden spoon, and I had that experience growing up. And now, because of his, challenging himself, and most people would have looked him over because he wasn't this person that was of status or money or position, but he worked his way up to the top, and he made sure that we understood the importance of an education and really extending a hand so that we can be more involved with our community. So, my quest in life is, I want to create the next senator, doctor, lawyer, marketing. I don't want to bring you in. I want to make sure I build you up. And so I named my company Be Better Than Me, because I don't want you to be like me. I want you to be better than me. And everybody's experience is individual. And it all begins with getting curious about who is doing what at the table and how can I get involved. Most people don't know that you can just run for the Board of Education wherever you live. If there's a problem, you can get involved going to meetings. And I know that there's a commissioner right now from Patterson who's on the line, Commissioner Martinez, who, you know, like me, started this grassroots movement and just getting involved with women issues, and really propelling herself to that next level and really propelling herself to, you know, run. And, you know, there's people on the call who are leaders in their communities and are not necessarily, you know, elected officials, like Miss Maria Andrade over in NJT, who's on the call, who is, you know, doing programming for STEM and engineering students right at NJT. And she's getting people that look like me to talk to these kids. And believe me, it makes an impact. So, you know, sometimes you're not going to find leaders and people that look like us up there. So what do? We create them. We put them in a pot because we know they're seeds. And we know that when we put that seed in that pot and we flower it with love, togetherness, and unity, the flower that's going to grow is going to provide shade for all the generations to come.
Amazing. Amazing. I love listening to you speak. It's just like a song, a beautiful song that just motivates one to say, yeah, that's right. Sí se puede. We can do this. We need to do this. That's amazing. I love you. Eneida, I would love for you to like follow up on this and like share what are you know, what are some proven strategies, or what are some thoughts when it comes around promoting some social issues that we may need to be speaking about loudly?
Absolutely. But, you know, before I answer that, I just want to piggyback on what Dr. Melissa said, because there is power in community, right? And so you know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. And so if you know what is available, the positions that are available, what you can do to run for office, et cetera, or just serve on boards, commissions, et cetera, that is really powerful, right? Because if our voices are not at the table, there's that saying, right? If we're not at the table, we're on the menu. So we want to make sure that we are at the table. And so, you know, at Amplify, we do that, right? What we do is that we look at the landscape of organizations, you know, of boards, commissions, et cetera, and we nominate for those roles. And we, you know, we're in close contact with the governor's office and, you know, with the mayor's office, et cetera, so that we can continue building that pipeline of leaders to be in those spaces. And when it comes to running for office, we're a C3, so we can't endorse candidates, we can't do any of that, but we can encourage women to run for office, right? And so, and at an individual level, I can support candidates that, you know, that I believe in, right? And we have a beautiful story of a young woman who was at one of our events years ago, and, you know, she said she wanted to run for office, and we all stood up and said, we'll support you. And that's all she needed. That moment right there shifted her career trajectory. She's now at the State House. She started as a city council member, and she's now at the State House. I mean, talk about power, right? Talk about the power of community and the power of knowing that you have people that will stand behind you and will push you right to the finish line. So, and like that, there's others that have been inspired, right? You know, through that sense of belonging and community, and you know, and then jumping back to your question of issues. I mean, right now at Amplify, we actually conducted a historic survey, the largest survey ever conducted about Latinos, for Latinos in Massachusetts. And what we did is that we commissioned MassInc, that's a polling group here, and they conducted this study and found that Latino priorities are no different than the greater community in Massachusetts. I mean, we worry about affordability, we worry about jobs, we worry about housing. I mean, the same underlying themes are, you know, equal across the board. What was interesting was that we also incorporated a name recognition of elected officials, and elected officials had basically zero name recognition. So that is also a problem. But when I'm faced with a problem, I always see the opportunity, right? So I said, all right, that might look really bad, right? It might mean that we're not engaged, but actually it's an opportunity for those elected officials to engage our people, right? Because if they're not recognized by our community, that means that that's an opportunity for them to be recognized by engaging and by, and creating that sense of community with us. And, and by the way, I mean, this happens, this is not unique to Massachusetts. I mean, this happens across the nation, but it's important that we put the data out there so that elected officials are aware that there needs to be more engagement, because we are a community that's growing exponentially. In Massachusetts, we're 15% of the population. Soon will be much larger. At the national level, we're 20, soon we'll be 30. So it's crucial that, we are engaged, and that, and that Latinos who are interested in being in public office are supported by the policies that, the priorities that we have, right? So that they know that they're going to have people that are going to champion them, and, that we're moving the needle for everybody.
That is amazing, Eneida, and that kind of like really is, you brought up so many critical points. So Emmy, I want to throw it to you. You have built bridges with many people. So how can we as a community build bridges with other social justice movements or other partnerships? And how do we look at that picture? How do we look at bringing in other partnerships to help move forward a specific agenda?
I would say access. I think that what a lot of us don't realize is that what's been stopping us is access. I mean, we don't lack creativity. We don't lack work ethic. We lack access. And so what I'm going to ask everyone here is to connect, because I may know somebody that may be in a city that knows you, that may want to connect you. So I think part of it is access, and not being afraid to really reach out across lines. We may not agree on everything, but what we do have to agree on is that we are working towards an equitable future for Latinos. So I think that that's part of the issue, and folks are afraid. I just had a congressman call me and say, I'm afraid to call you because you're just so busy. Why are you afraid to call? You are a Latino, and we need to sit down on what policies you're setting forth for my community, right? And so it's access. So for all of you that are saying, I don't know anybody, 115 people on this call that knows somebody in your city, in your state, for whatever it is you're doing. I mean, I'm going to tell you that the first business I opened, I didn't know anyone. And my banker said to me, but you know me, and I know other small business owners, and that opened the door for me. And so I'm going to ask folks to connect on LinkedIn and truly say, hey, I want to be on a board, or I don't know how to run for office, or what was the experience like as a first-time business owner? Who have you supported? So I think that should be our legacy, should be access, in order for us to build that table, because it isn't built for us yet. We're still not at equal. In order for us, is we must be able to reach out and access who Dr. Baralt knows, access who Eneida knows, and they may know a little bit more about what we're looking for, right? So, I mean, think about it. This is a congressman calling me. I didn't want to call you because I'm like, we elected you for a reason, Mr. Latino. So access, reach out, never be afraid to break down those barriers of, hey, I met you on this call. Can you connect me to so-and-so? Or I'm currently in Los Angeles. I'm going to be in Los Angeles. I'd love to sit with you and talk. Right? So that is accessible to us. Your local councilman, your local board of supervisors host meetings. That is your opportunity to be in the room. If you are not in the room, you need access, which means you need someone to bring you in, you need someone to introduce you, or you need someone to connect you. And that is why I'm on this call. That is why we're all on this call, is to be connected and to give access, because we're not out here in silos, and we create power. That's the only way we're going to do it. We are creating the power, because it doesn't come to us. We create it. And so access, I think, is the number one thing that we all need to continue building and connecting with folks.
That is amazing. It reminds me of the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? So unless you ask, unless you're opening your mouth, unless you're saying something, don't plan on anybody coming to you and saying, hey, we're going to pick you. It's you have to have the voice, and you have to go out there and do those things and connect with the people and the outlets, because a LinkedIn message or a phone call will get you far. And oftentimes we fear, we're like, oh, well, they're too busy to connect with us. Well, if it is, right? But don't let that stop you from making the call. Don't let that stop you from reaching out, because everybody in this space, we weren't born together. We came together through someone taking the initiative to say, hey, I like what you're saying. We need to help and have this conversation on bigger platforms. So I love that you mentioned that. All right, so I'm getting pushed for time, but I want to end with the last question of like, what are some, feel free to wrap it up how you wish, but what are some of the biggest challenges that we're facing up this road, besides some of the things that you guys have already mentioned? And then how can we ensure a positive future in a community? Like, what do we need to do? And how do we as an audience, what do we need to do to support and be aware to support some of these initiatives?
Would you like me to start? I'm
happy. Yes, go ahead, Eneida. Yeah.
So let me tell you, I think that there are a lot of challenges, right? Like, we can't sugarcoat this. There are a lot of challenges, and I think the first challenge is misperception of who we are, right? There's a fear of the unknown, and and there's a fear of an overtaking. There's also a perception that Latinos are takers, that Latinos are not givers. And I think that first, within our own community, reframe that narrative to have a narrative of abundance and contributions. And I know Ana Valdez is closing the program, and she does a phenomenal job at breaking it down and using data to demonstrate that we are powerful and we're here to stay, and we need to be engaged because the economy depends on us, right? So if we reframe internally that narrative and we start sharing that narrative externally, I think that creates an impact, right? Because it's all about demonstrating the contributions and the prosperity that we can bring, and the missed opportunity, right? And again, Ana is an artist. She has perfected the art of the messaging, right? And so we need to learn from her, and we should be going to her page, Latino Donor Collaborative, and seeing the amazing data and the studies that they have to show that without Latinos, the United States is not going to be the same United States it is now, without Latino contributions and without investment in the Latino community. Another aspect of the challenges are simply biases, right? Biases that have been perpetuated by the media, biases that have been perpetuated by Hollywood, bias, like underrepresentation of Latinos in positions of power and influence and impact. And so that's why organizations like United Latina, Amplify Latinx, and others are so important. And all the ones that are present here are so important because we are shifting that narrative. We are demonstrating that. And by the way, at Amplify, what we say is that we're perpetuating a new era of prosperity for Latinos, right? Because it's not like there's no prosperity now. We have prosperity, but we're like perpetuating a new cycle, right? Because we're a young community. And so we're here, we're established, but those that are behind us, those are the ones that we need to make sure that get those seats that we've been, fighting for, right? Because at the end of the day, a community that's not represented, I mean, corporate America gets it, right? They understand if they don't have women at the table, then that's why there's certain regulations and, and rules that have been passed to like include and to make sure that diverse voices are at the table so that they can have, more profits, because at the end of the day, all boils down to the bottom line. And so, again, challenges, but like I said earlier, where I see a problem, I see an opportunity. So I always like to spin it and say, okay, how can we fix this? How can we make this better so that we can demonstrate to the rest of the world that Latinos are not going anywhere. We're part of the fabric of this nation. We're an intrinsical part of what this nation represents. And by the way, Spanish is the oldest non-native language spoken in this land, because the Spaniards came here 500 years ago, before the Pilgrims, right? They didn't conquest the entire United States, but Spanish was spoken here long before English was spoken or any other language. So we need to step into our power and own that, and believe in that narrative that there is power in diversity, that there is power in inclusion, that there is power in being where we need to be, especially at the top seats anywhere across sectors, private, public, philanthropy, etc. And that will be the moment when we're going to see transformation for our community.
Dr. Melissa or Emmy?
Yeah, I just want to interject and say thank you for that, Eneida. And very nice to meet all the panelists here. But I just think keeping an open mind, we need to stop the limiting beliefs that we were once taught by our parents. They didn't know no better, and neither did their grandparents. We are in the land of opportunity, and the best opportunity is found in each other. And I'm so blessed to have a community of people that also has that, mindset of abundance, and we support each other. I mean, a lot of times supporting someone doesn't mean you have to drive 200 miles. Simply getting on a call, like some of the great people on this call, I see my good sister friend, accountant Luisa, who is like one of the few Spanish speaking accountants in the area on the call. And there's different people who we know that are doing magnificent things, and we support each other. And it's important to build each other up. And I think one of the limiting facts is that, we're almost taught to have blinders, to just do what you have to do. Like Valeria Valo says on the call, calladita te ves más bonita. And that's not true. And we have to break those limiting factors, and we have to learn to connect each other and say, hey, you might want to connect with my girl, Emiliana. She has a great thing going on. Connect with Eneida. We can do things together. We can share influences together. And I just want to, say that I'm so blessed, including, the many students that are in my classroom right now, listening to all of you, which is why you see me mouth off. They're impressed by all of you. So thank you for pouring into each other, because the truth of the matter is, if we don't pour into each other and we don't build each other up, there's no way we can continue with the force that was intended on this earth, to have good energy and really draw people to you just by being genuine, being your best self, and never being embarrassed to show up as you are, as God created you. And I think that makes a difference, because I like going into rooms where everyone's like, the majority of the people in the sciences don't look like me. So coming into a room like that, it makes a difference for the people that are looking at me. And believe me, it makes a difference. And I'm sure all of you feel the same way. It makes a difference. So access granted. Let's all love on each other. And let's all be there for each other and support each other in truth, in health, and in wealth.
Absolutely. I'm going to leave it short. Same thing of continue to amplify Latina voices, but more than anything, continue to be an unapologetic Latina. Walk into a room and you're a queen. That's it. Unapologetic Latinas is what we are.
I love it. This was a powerful panel. Thank you so much, guys. It was amazing. Eneida, Dr. Melissa, Emiliana, that was profound. We've got so much love coming in the chats. So thank you so much. Beautiful. Yeah. Are you guys fired up? I don't know. I have all this God, I'm ready to take on the world. Give me an obstacle, because we are going to climb over that like it's nothing. Such amazing energy, such amazing energy. All right.
Thank you everybody for being here. We're gonna pass on to our next, but in the meantime, Sandra, well, thank you, Emmy, thank you, Dr. Melissa, thank you, Eneida. Sandra, we have so many great things happening today. It's just been incredible, the amount of comments on the chat. I've been trying to change people's names as fast as possible. So bear with me if I haven't been able to change your name yet. So we have some gifts happening. We are going to give away, if you want to go into the raffle, drop your name, drop your LinkedIn or your social media platform on the chat so that we can connect with you afterwards. So please make sure that you do that. We have some really